I'm going to shape a round boule and also a baguette. So there's my dough. I'm going to cut it in half. And first, this is the pre-shape of the round boule. And I tuck the sides up and then just flip it over and tuck a few times, and that's it. And this is the pre-shape of the log or oval for the baguette. I'm gonna go toward the center a little so that I don't end up with a shape that's too fat on the ends. So toward the center, and then I'm just gonna roll, and I'm gonna move that bit toward the center and roll, and there's my log shape, and I'm just gonna tighten it once or twice. And now these two will sit until they relax. So now I have my pre-shaped round, and I'm going to preserve this nice smooth top, I'm going to flip it on its head and then just reshape it into a tighter round ball. So onto its head, smack it again to get the gas out, and then again the sides come up and you flip it right side up. But this time I'm going to keep tightening it until I have a nice tight round ball. I'm using both hands to stretch the top. You can also use that motion where you push on it and it catches right here with the friction of the table and it stretches. I have a little bit too much flour down though, and so if I push on it, it's just gonna slide. But if you are more careful with your flour than I was, you can also use that pushing motion on all four sides as a different way to stretch it. But because I have too much flour, I'm using two hands instead. So you just keep shaping it, and ideally you shape it as tight as you can without it starting to rip. So sometime you can just experiment by continuing to tighten and tighten until it rips, and you'll see how far you can go. But I'm gonna stop right about here. And so now I'm gonna move that over to a surface to proof. Now I'm going to take my pre-shaped baguette, which is sort of a log right here. I'm going to flip it over so that the top surface is going to go down in the flour, and that's going to end up being the outside of the baguette. So flip it upside down, and now smack it a few times to get the gas out, and now I'm going to do the series of 3 folds to make the baguette. So once you're done, I have a seam right here. So I'm going to kind of roll it right side up so that seam is on the bottom. Now this is a pretty short baguette. Depending on how you're going to bake it and store it, you know, you might want it longer, or you might prefer short so it fits in your casserole or whatever you're using better. So to make it longer, there's a few things you can do. One is to continue tightening it using both your hands like that. You can also use friction with the table. Again, I have a little too much flour down, so it probably won't work, but you sort of push on the baguette here and you should feel it catching on the other side and stretching over the top. You can also pull it toward you, but because my table is so slippery, I'm gonna stick to the two-handed method, and I'm just stretching the top of it. And as you do that, it'll start to get longer and longer. And finally, if you're happy with your baguette, but you just want it longer, you just can roll it like that. But that's the basic idea. If there's this looks pretty even, but say you had one end that was fatter than the rest, you could just do this more there. Do this motion more at the fatter place and kind of stretch it out. So now you just pick it up and move it to whatever surface you're going to let it proof on.